Hello, everyone. We should be live, but you know how YouTube works, so I think we're talking to you.
Okay.
All right, so I am the Mistress of Horror, author D.L. Tillery, and I have my lovely guest with me here today, Regina St. Clair from the Haunted Library.
Hello.
As you know, on this channel, I talk all the things horror, and this is our April show of CGL Horror, which is a spinoff of the original CGL. We'll be talking horror topics. We're going to be letting Regina read a little excerpt from one of her awesome
I'm just gonna.
stories, which I had the fun to actually read and love it. Very
Oh,
intrigued and must read the rest of it when she releases it.
thank you. I kind of
so
grabbed this puppy to keep her
I
calm.
know I saw him running around down there. So we're going to go ahead and say hi to the chat after I have my lovely guest introduce herself. So I'm going to give you full screen.
Okay. Well, hi. This is my first live ever on YouTube, so trying to get all the elements right. But this is Regina St. Clair from my booktube channel, authortube channel, Regina's Haunted Library, and I have Lucky here with me today, and
Hi,
Lily,
Lucky.
my other pup, running around somewhere, but she needed my attention. So it's nice to see everyone, and thank you, DL, or can I call you Danette?
You can call me Danette. You can call me Danny. You can call me DL. You can
All
call me
right.
Mistress. Anything you want. I'm totally cool.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, I'm excited to have you because to me, you're a big deal on YouTube.
Oh,
So
really? Huh?
yes, I think you're a big deal. I always mention you in a lot of my stuff. I'm like Regina St. Clair from Haunted Library. It just rings and rolls off the tongue too.
But I
So
think you're a big deal. You're the Mistress
really,
of Horror.
me, I think you're a big deal. So I always bring you up because you have awesome videos, and of course, your other persona, Batilda. We can't
Oh,
possibly forget her.
yeah. I know she couldn't join us tonight.
Yeah, she has. She's doing her thing somewhere else. You
She
know.
doesn't wake up during the day. She only comes up.
That's right. She's more of a night gal.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and check our chat and say hello to everyone that's here.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi,
Aphrodite.
Aphrodite.
She's early, she said.
She's sweet.
Uh, hello, cool gamer. Thanks for
Hello.
joining us. Always popping in. And Barrett Lori from the
Hello.
original CGL. Oh, yes, of course. Puppy. I saw him roaming around down there like, Mom, pick me up, please.
Already scared. All
Yeah,
right.
she's already scared. We didn't even start. It's Aphrodite.
I
She's
love
easily
her.
scared, so we can't go off of her scale of scared. I'm just saying. She
Okay.
says Bambi is a horror movie, so
Oh, well, there is that one scene that's.
there is that one. Yes, that one scene that's considered scary, but too funny. I can't. Yes, yes. It was a good reason. We have some fun topics for tonight. We have two really
Thank
fun
you.
topics.
That's very sweet. Thank you, Barrett.
Yes, always. Hey RC, what is up? Having a drink before seeing the Northman. Oh, cool. Yeah, I heard the Northman's supposed to be decent.
I'm going to see that this week.
Yeah, I heard it's supposed to be pretty good. So doesn't it have Alex Skarsgård?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't you can't miss him
Oh,
on the
my.
cover. Like you can't miss Alex. No.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Skarsgård's family are very good looking people. You can't.
I like the dad too. I like them all.
Yes, I love him. I've seen him in a lot of different things, and the whole family is like really
Yeah.
talented. And I heard that they were thinking about getting his brother, the one who played it, to get
Oh,
him
really?
to play. Yeah, to get him to play the new Crow. They're supposed to be doing
Oh.
like a
Mhm.
reimagining or it's a redo of the Crow, the original. So they was thinking about getting him, and I'm like, that's gonna be very good and creepy because he's a very big dude. So
Yeah, that's a good choice.
yeah, I think so too.
Is my
So
microphone okay? Can I
yeah, huh? I can
okay.
hear you good. You're
This is my
good.
first time ever,
You're doing well.
putting all
Picture
this.
quality's good. Mic is good, so you're good.
Okay, good.
See, RC said brainstorm the comic book idea today. That's always good. I love me some comic books and graphic novels. Yes, the Haunted Library. Haunted Library is very awesome.
Thank you.
Very impressed by it. Hi, Bookie
Hi,
Bud.
Alex.
I haven't seen you in a minute. Yay. Yes, the original CGL in the house. This is true. You too funny. All right. So I keep up with everybody. There are several. See, I see that one to right. Bambi from the hunter's perspective. Yeah, that's not good. That's just gonna be like Cabela or something. That's not gonna. That's not gonna be very much. I just thought Bambi was funny. Whenever I go out and take my daughter to run around, and there's like a bird or something or squirrel, I start doing the Bambi like human sound, like din, din, din. It's humans, run. So yeah, I guess that would be quite scary from their perspective. I'm sure it was a horror movie indeed. Aphrodite talked about the fire scene in the woods. She's like, that is scary. Like, who would be scared of that? I'm like, you're right, but it's still not horror.
Yeah.
She's so funny. I can't. Oh yes, you're one of your many husbands, Aphrodite, Alex. Yes, Skyscar. You're married to him too.
The first movie I ever watched in a theater was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and I was definitely scared of the witch.
Yeah, the some of those, any of the fairy tales, to be honest, will definitely have some creepy tones and horror tones, since they mostly all come from Twisted Tales. If you ask the the brothers, the Brum brothers, so they'll definitely tell you they are Twisted horror tales. I got like all their works of like all those, and those original ones are.
Yeah, the Grimm
fairy tales are really just grim, of course. Grimm tales. They're not nothing fairy about that. Well, fairies are a whole nother conversation.
Yeah,
they fall into horror too. So.
Well, that's a whole romance subgenre, is the whole fae thing.
Yeah, I know. Yes, the fae.
And I think I read like one or two Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah,
she actually lives right near me.
Really? That's cool.
Met her, but she's like in the next town.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. Always cool when you live near people. Like, I live near them. All right, so the first movie I saw in theaters was Aliens.
Oh yeah.
2 years old. Yeah, Aliens was something. Well, that was a sequel to Alien, because you got to be like specific with Alien, because there was literally one.
Yeah.
And then Aliens, that means it was more than one alien.
Yeah, Aliens is good. Alien, the first one, is one of my favorite movies. But
yeah, I really liked the character Ripley. I really liked her because it was like a strong female character and something too on top of that. And she was kind of as the series went on, she became even more like in the last one, Resurrection. Like she was a badass, like straight up. Like,
yeah, I was a few years ago. I watched all the Alien movies in order.
I've done that. Yeah,
and they vary in quality, but her character is consistent through all
like this change of like when she gets the alien part in her, and then she's like changes like to that point. And I think the only one where I felt like Ripley was like, I don't know, maybe weakened a little bit was, I think, was it Aliens 3 possibly, when she had to have her head shaved, and then she was a weird one. She was carrying the alien at that point. And then she had to die, and then
she falls into the fire.
Right, falls into the thing. And I was very upset because they killed Ripley, But then Resurrection, she was like a badass. I was like, oh, watch out. So yeah, I love Aliens. It was good.
Yeah, me too.
Alien was the best. Yes, it was. You get into the whole Predator thing. Don't get me started on that. I love Predators. Yeah. Predators is crazy because it's funny when you watch the whole like world and mythos of Alien with the Predator, and then they came out with Prometheus. And that connection of how we found out that humans were just like the practice dummy pretty much for the aliens in order to feast on us, so that way the predators could hunt the aliens. Because it was like they made a they had like an order they put in with the ones of Prometheus, and it was like, wow, what? I'm like, well, I guess the humans aren't that big of a deal as you must think you are. Yeah. You're just some food. You're not even food. You're just a host for the thing.
The last one, Covenant, that was good.
Yeah, that was good. I like all of them. It has to be pretty cool to sit and watch like all of those together with all the aliens, and then Prometheus, and then the sequels to Prometheus, and then the Predator movies tying in because they fight the aliens, like the Alien versus Predator movies specifically.
Yeah, which I have not seen all of those. I mean, the first Predator I thought was really scary.
Yeah, it definitely had the scary element with him being like, being able to be invisible and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I've watched all the Predators, had a lot of Predator comic books, big Predator fan.
Oh, wow.
And they looked just straight up terrible. Like, there's no lie. The crab face and the thing. Yeah. And then it's very interesting with their species because the females don't really look like the males. The females tend to look more humanoid, though they carry like the outfits and the dreads and stuff like that. But their faces aren't crab like the males. They're
Oh,
more female humanoid looking. They're
right.
like, and sometimes they integrate other species of females. Like they'll say they've had female mates and stuff, human females that are mates, and then for like that. So it's weird. So then they mix with all these different races and make different types of predators. That's why you have like the
Oh, okay.
predator alien mix.
So alien predator.
Yeah, that mix that they
Oh,
done with
I
that.
see.
And
I
then
never followed
yeah,
this.
so if you read the like predator comic books, you find out a lot about the predators and how they are. There's a lot of different types of predators, like the hunter ones, the scientist ones. You got all these different kinds. So you had like two different predators, like in that original Predator. That wasn't the same type of predator that was in the one with Danny Glover in it. So the
Okay.
sequel, they were two different types of predators, so they hunt differently and act differently to that. It's kind of like they do with Star Wars. You got different types of Jedi's,
Right.
so it's quite similar to that. So
Okay. Wow. It's a whole thing.
yeah, everybody got their worlds, and it's very interesting to see how
Yeah.
everyone does those things. So yep. All right, so let's go ahead and move into our topics. Which let
Okay.
me pull up my topic sheet for our fun little questions for everybody.
Oh, right. The questions. I filled this out.
Yeah, I know. I know. I try to always pre-fill mine out so I won't be like forever with my answer and be like trying to think.
Oh, I don't want to mess up my.
You're good.
I'm just like not the tech person. I
She's
confess.
like, wait, oh, you're doing pretty good considering. So the first question is name 5 horror standalone books or series, if you have those in your head, that you would recommend to those interested in reading horror but have only ever watched horror movies. So
Okay.
you have to
All right.
really think about that one for a minute because people who watch horror movies and never read a horror book
Yeah.
might not be ready. But what would you recommend?
Well, I would definitely just start with like a classic Stephen King, but start with the earlier books that are not so long.
Yeah, you know how he got long-winded.
Yeah, like Carrie is a great place to start.
Yes,
which is his first novel. But I also think Pet Cemetery.
Yes,
because it's a really good novel, not just a really good horror novel, because it really gets into the family's grief. And I just reread it maybe last year or 2 years ago.
Yep.
And yeah, I would definitely go with early King, before. And right now I'm actually listening to, as I'm doing like gardening outside and doing like some housework, I've been listening to The Stand.
Yes, The Stand. I love The Stand, actually.
The uncut version?
Yes, I prefer uncut if I can get it.
This one is, I still have like 30 hours to go on it. It's so long.
But The Stand is very long, but very good, though.
It's so good. So yeah, I wouldn't start with The Stand, though. So what else did I put here? Well, I Am Legend by Richard Matheson.
Yeah, I Am Legend is good.
Is a great, and I just only read that recently.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think shorter works to kind of get you into it. Like that's just such a great. It reminds me a lot. I think it influenced Night of the Living Dead. So it definitely has that feeling.
It does, definitely.
And then for something new, because I always recommend old books.
Yeah.
I really liked. What was it called? The Good House by Tananarive Due. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who that is. Yep.
That was like just a really good novel.
True.
But it was also horror, but more of a quiet horror.
Yeah, because you have calm. You have levels of horror.
Yeah, so. That one creeped me out, but it was really good. I want her to write more horror because I read everyone. And then I maybe I'm over 5, but I also put one of my favorites is The Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker.
Oh yes.
Which is a short work. A lot of people recommend, like horror fans, that you start with his books of blood to kind of be introduced.
Yeah, they usually do.
I actually think that Hellbound Heart is a great place to start because you can tie in the movie, Hellraiser, which he directed.
Yes.
And it's just like a great introduction to his world.
Yes.
So those are my choices.
Those are good ones. Definitely good ones to give. I'm going to go on another spectrum and go to graphic novels, horror graphic novels. They're short, but they're also animated pictures with it so that people who integrate from movies won't feel too forced when they just get bombarded with words on the page. I, however, like reading all of them, but I'm an adamant reader. So me, I don't get intimidated by the thickness of the book, but I know lots of people will be like, yeah, I'm not reading that.
Yeah.
It's too much for me. So I'm going to go with I have four of them here that I'm going to
Okay.
recommend, but one of them actually isn't a graphic novel, but this one is an Anne Rice graphic novel of Lestat. It's pretty thick for a graphic novel because it is Lestat. So I got this from like Books a Million when I used to shop in there. So it's literally just Anne Rice's The Vampire Lestat, a graphic novel. So it's, I know a lot of people with horror, they kind of forget vampires and werewolves are horror, because of the vampires being more romanticized. But romanticized doesn't mean not scary, doesn't mean not horror. So I would recommend this because it's a well-known author, and also you could reference it after you read it with the movie and see what the differences are. Um, and then one of my favorite poets in the short stories was Edgar Allan Poe, and they had came out with a graphic novel of some of his short horrors. Nevermore they call it.
Nice.
And this one, the artwork in here is just creepy and scary in itself, because of the context of like how it looks, because it's very dark and vivid, and it's the art is very sharp. So just the people's faces are scary in general, because I don't even know if I can even show it here and
I don't
see
know,
it.
but I'm gonna look this up as soon as we're off.
Yeah, so definitely check it out. So graphic novel Nevermore is a graphic adaptation of Edgar Allan Poe's short stories, and I think it has the Raven in here, the facts in the case of Mr. Valdemar, Murders of Rue Morgue, and the Black Cat. It has quite a few in here, so some really good notable ones. And then anything by Junji Ito, because he goes deep in horror, and his are graphic novels. Japanese people know horror. Like when they do horror, because it's starting to slow down a little bit. I've noticed it's not as much coming out of Japan for the horror stuff, but there are some classics that are known in there. You know, like The Grudge and The Ring and stuff, Samara, things like that. But Junji Ito is very good for people who are into horror, because he takes it to a level, and his stuff is super creepy. And one of the ones that's not too old actually is Censor, and his covers are really cool. But he goes pretty hard. If you are into horror, then I definitely always recommend Junji Ito stuff, because it's like, you want gore, you want creepy, he never misses, like ever. And then another one that's really good is Deserter. Another good one. I mean, you can tell from the cover right away that there's going to be terrible things happening in this one. So it's also graphic novel. It's quite thick because it has quite a few stories. So there's like short story collections in his stuff, unless it's a very specific one that's for the story. And then I would like to recommend any horror anthologies. And of course, I'm going to just toot our own horns with Local Haunts and Serve Cold, because you get a mixture of all these different writers and different types of horror based to a theme, and then it doesn't over bombard you with length. So if you're a person who's not an adamant reader, getting something shorter and sweet will sometimes make you be more interested in horror because of that. And horror does short very well. So
that's true. In fact, there was an anthology that Juan over at Plagued by Visions was just talking about. I think it's Darkness Descends or something. I have it. That is a great. I was really happy when I found that at like a used bookstore.
Yeah,
that is a great sampling of so many different horror writers, like old classics and newer. Well, of course, it probably came out in the 80s or 90s, but it's really good. And you're right. You can. That's and the graphic novels. I have that one, the Anne Rice one.
Yeah.
And I've read that. I love it. And that's a find. Those are hard to find.
They are. That's why I got it at Books a Million, I think. And this is such a good condition. And this, I mean, I'm sure this was used in no, Wonder Books is where I was at with this one.
Is that near where you is that near Baltimore?
Yeah, it's the one I went to was in, I think the closest is Wonder Books. The closest Wonder Books that I end up going in, and I went in there by chance that day because I was going to one of the Toys R Us's that was last open and was closing. So this was pre-COVID. And like right before the last Toys R Us was like, you got the last couple of days. So I wanted my daughter to experience Toys R Us before it wasn't around anymore, since it, you know, toy stores are neither here nor there unless you live in New York, Times Square or something. So I went there, and then I came out, and it was a Wonder Book there. And I was like, oh, I love Wonder Book because I order books from them all the time. So I went in there and looked through, and there was like all these vampire books. I actually picked up quite a few vampire books that day, like a nice Dracula, like hardback book. And their books are in such good condition for used books too. So I was like, wow, I have to definitely check that out. So this was used and it's really good condition. And I think I paid like $10 for this. It's like $9.97.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And then like as you know, because you have it, like the color is in color, which is really cool. So you don't expect that.
And if you can't handle reading a long-winded Anne Rice book, you can read that.
Yep, exactly. So that will definitely help you get into the vampire.
Yeah, I go down to Baltimore a couple times a year because my husband is from Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
And so we go down to he's a Baltimore Orioles fan.
Yeah, the Orioles.
We get down there. So when he can go to the game, I can go to the bookstore.
Exactly. Kill two birds with one stone. There you go. But yeah, so I really like those, and Wonder Books is really good. I do not need to go in a bookstore. It's very bad. I'll spend so much. And they get if they have deals, like buy a cart of books or something, like some of the thrift stores in my area used to do. I was like, it's not good for a person with a book problem. I was like,
I definitely have the book problem.
I have a book problem.
I almost went to Barnes and Noble today, and I had to stop myself. I'm like, why? You don't need
Why? What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Right? What are you doing? I just pre-ordered a copy of the re-release of the Sumerian, which is J.R.R. Tolkien, because they're doing like that new bound version. It's blue and it possibly has an Elvish section in it. Like it's all in Elvish. And of course, me being the nerd that I am with Lord of the Rings, that I was like, oh, I have to get it. And then I heard in passing about this re-release of the entirety of the Lord of the Rings and this ridiculous price tag that it had. And I was like, if I was rich, I probably wouldn't even blink at it and purchase it because it was $1,500.
Wow.
Right. And they're like, they got this person to illustrate it. So it's all illustrated and you have like all these pictures in it and you have like all this stuff that you get with it in this box set. I'm like, they can pretty it up all you want because I think it's by that one company, Foil. I forget the name.
Oh, the Folio?
Yeah, them. So they do that. They release.
Okay, so it's in the case and everything.
Yeah, all that stuff. I'm like, well, $1,500.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I'm gonna have to say no to that. I mean, the Sumerian like re-release of that is like $60, I think. I mean, if you already I have a copy of it, but I really wanted the one because it possibly has Elvish in it section or whatever. Okay. So I couldn't help bypass it. But I think $60 I'm willing to do. I pay like $40 for each, $44 for each one of these. What's his name? The one who does Berserk, which is another graphic novel, was another graphic novel horror writer.
Oh wow.
These are like $44, but they are hardback and they're pretty thick and it's multiple volumes in one. Mm-hmm. So that I'm willing to pay that for a book if it's $47 like that. So
I've dished out some money for some books, but
yeah, we've all done it. We've all done it. All right, let me check and see everybody's answer to the question. Who answered it? Let's see. I think RC was answering it first. Okay. Let's go back up a little bit.
No, but the graphic novels is a great idea because that bridges the gap between movie and
the novels. Yeah, I think it does help a little bit because of like people not being heavy readers, maybe, and some people get intimidated with that, with the page and it has all the words on it. And they're like, oh, this is going to take me forever type of situation. I think it softens the blow, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's how I started reading horror was comics, creepy and eerie comics.
Yes, there's a lot of those out there. Something they get pretty graphic. There's some pretty crazy ones out there. RC says, what did he say here? Salem's Lot.
Yeah, that's a good
one. That's a good one. Haunting of Hill House.
Oh yeah.
Yep, seen all these. Yep, these are good ones. Watchers. Yep. And Ghost Story by Peter Struber. Yep, another good one.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you're a horror buff, I think that's a lot of our favorites, really.
Yeah, and it's a good movie of that too.
Definitely. Stranger with My Face. Love that novel. It was the first book I read all the way through, and one night it inspired me to be a bit darker in my writing.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I don't think I've read that one on myself, and that's
That's a
really
cool
rare for me.
title, though. I'm thinking of all
Stranger
kinds of
with
things.
my face. I'll have to look it up because now I want to know what it is.
Yeah,
So I'll make a note of that. Stranger with my face.
because that would be. I don't know if this is what it is, but like I'm just thinking about all the possibilities. Like someone shows up with
With
your
your
face.
face, like, and you're like, who are you? Creepier.
Oh yeah,
Um,
blood.
Books of Blood by one three by Clive Barker. Yes, of course. One of the King Masters of Horror. Great minds think alike. This is true. This is true. Snow Glass Apples by Neil Gaiman. Oh, okay, cool.
I'm reading a Neil Gaiman's Norse mythology book actually right
Oh,
now.
really?
So I'm kind of preparing myself to go see the Northman by reading that.
Mm.
It's good. It's
Good
short. It's
call.
like, I'm zipping through it.
Yeah, Coraline is like one of my favorite freaking like stories. So I love Coraline. Let me see her. Have enjoyed some YA horror because they aren't as scary. The Girl from the Well and Coraline were favorites.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
those are very good, and also could ease people into.
Mm-hmm.
With my Glass Corridor series being VC Andrews' influence, I really want it made into a graphic novel series. Yeah, I know. I would love for my stuff to be made into a graphic novel series. Oh, Saga, my favorite GM.
This is just
Awesome.
adding to my list of things I want to read.
I know, right? Like we need more. I would love a Poe graphic novel. Oh my god, yes,
Me
it's
too.
awesome. When I heard about that, please, all over it. I even have the Twilight graphic novels that came
Oh,
out too. Because he released those well after the series was out.
I actually do kind of like Twilight, I have to admit.
I mean, I like Twilight. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think I've talked about the subject quite a few times when people like coming down hard on Twilight. I'm like, calm down. You don't have to like it, but I never understand when people like if they dislike something or they like something else that's similar, they'll beat down something else to improve what they like of
Yeah.
the other thing. I'm like, there's no need for that. It's space for everybody's stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's my
you know,
philosophy too.
it's not a big deal. And I'm like, people like always bring up that the vampire sparkle. I'm like, she didn't make that. She did not make that lore. If you actually know about vampire lore, that's one of the things that we
Oh, I
all
didn't
heard
know that. I
before.
thought, yeah, you know
She
what?
didn't make
It's
it.
it's silly, but it's fun
I
and
mean, it just it's the old ones. They didn't name it the way she did. Like she was like, oh, this sparkling. They
right.
didn't name it that.
Oh,
It's
the
just that
glow. Yeah.
it's only just because they have like being undead and their skin being hard
Mm-hmm.
that it would shine in the sun because the sun hitting it and it being hard like diamonds. So that's the concept. And it's in vampire lore. It's not like she made it up about vampires to having the hard skin of the undead and then the sun hitting it and it would because of the crystallization of the blood underneath the skin. So that's all it is. And people's like, I don't like my vampires to sparkle. I'm like,
Yeah.
roll eyes. Like we can all find fault with any of the creatures in vampire world. I started taking people who, because the same people who liked Buffy the Vampire Slayer vampires and Angels vampires, which is from the same world, they will always say like, I prefer my vampires like this, and I'd be like, oh, so you prefer your vampires to be able to be staked by a random chair leg? Okay, like you can pick apart anybody's theories and everybody's like mythos and stuff if you're going to try to compare them, but there's
Yeah.
really no need to compare them. You either like it or you don't. If you prefer non-romanticized vampires, there are things like Nosferatus, and there's more vicious, gruesome, gory vampires that you can go flock to, but that doesn't make the romanticized ones any worse.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
but
it's a totally
humans.
different genre, really.
It really is. So you kind of have to be what you're in the mood for. You
Yeah.
know, that's all I
And it
say.
really, I mean, I think Twilight in so many ways just started this whole YA craze. I mean, it's
It did. It
probably
did.
been
I
20
mean,
years since that book
I'm
came
sure
out.
a lot of writers thanked her for that,
Yeah.
for like opening that door and getting people to pay
Mhm.
attention. You know, I hadn't read Twilight when I saw the first trailer for the movie because I was well past the age. I was already like a young adult. I was an adult,
I was
but
way
it
past the
was why
age.
it was past the age I would read. But I always read above my age, so
Mhm.
I didn't. You know, I kind of missed it when it came out. So when the trailer showed, and me and my brother both was like, anything that's supernatural or different, it always tweaks our interest. So we
Okay.
were like,
Cool.
"What's that?" We were at the theater to see another movie at the time, and they showed the trailer, and we was like, That's interesting. So that just caught our interest, and I was like, Twilight, what's that? So I looked it up, and then I saw that it was a book series. So then I read the whole entire book series,
Yeah.
and I'm sometimes I'm like a binger. So if I watch something, I binge it. If I read something, I binge it. So I'll be like, I read all of them, and I was like, oh, I have to see this movie. So when the movies came out, I was obsessed with Twilight. I worked at Blockbuster at the time when it was still a thing.
Oh, that's cool.
I bought I have to show some people in a video sometime. I have all the Twilight posters for all the movies.
Oh, wow.
I have the Blockbuster cards that we had, like the backers that we called them in Blockbuster. So when you would take a movie out and it would be nothing there.
Oh yeah, I remember those.
The picture of the movie. I have those collected. I have some of the movie strips that we had, like the theater thing Blockbuster used to do, where they put the strip. I have the posters that are painted posters in frames that are the theater ones that they put on walls. But Blockbusters, we started selling those. So I bought all of the Twilight ones that released. So, and I bought the candies. On Valentine's Day when they had the I love you, so I kept the box.
God, these are collector's items. I mean,
yeah, they are. And they had like this box that was like the box that you put trinkets in that was Twilight. So I got the New Moon box. I have the 10. There was a book that the dollar store had in it one time that was just a regular writing book that was in a tin can. I bought that. Like I was obsessed with Twilight. Like anything vampire that came out that had like merchandise, no, I was all over. It didn't matter. Yeah. Vampires was my thing, man.
That's funny. That's cool though. You know, I mean, it just the story is good.
Yeah, I thought it was good. Like some people like beat it down, but I'm like,
well, yeah, but you know, there's flaws. It definitely.
Everybody writes some kind of flaw in their stuff, but I thought it was interesting. But there was a lot of talk around Twilight that a lot of people try to be like, oh, well, it's an abusive relationship.
Oh yeah.
And then we had all that. I'm like, stop thinking on your human level. First off. He's a vampire. Second, she would be prey to him. So them playing on that whole aspect of that would make sense, because if he came up acting like a human, it would be stupid, because he's not a human anymore. He may have been human once, but he doesn't even remember being a human at this point, because he's lived way longer as a vampire than he did as a human being. Like 17 years with a human isn't anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you got to get out of your human element and our human issues that we have and stop integrating those things on stories that are written supernatural. A good writer can remove themselves from our reality when you're writing supernatural. Granted, we will have humanistic issues and things in those things, but you have to really not let it be overly bombarded, because then you're just rehashing everything that we currently live every day. Yeah. And how is that interesting, in my opinion, when I'm looking for vampires? I don't want to.
But that, I think, kept the tension in that story, because, of course, I'm reading it as an adult. Right, I'm feeling like maternal, like towards Bella, like get her out, like help her get away from this monster. But that still kept me reading.
Right, that still kept you, and that's the thing about the interpretation of that. Of course, when I was reading, I was like, when she was like, "Oh, I'm not scared," I was like, "You should be."
Right.
Like he said that he was right. You know, I'm like, but she's like, "No." I'm like, well, that's because that's who she is as a person. Yeah. You know, she was in love with him like right away or whatever. Then she would take all his flaws. Though some of us would be like, "I don't know, girl, you might not," you know. So in that case, yes. And they were like, well, when she was sitting there through the seasons and she was depressed that he was gone to the person, that was just ridiculous. I'm like, a person who said that was a person who never lost anybody. You haven't lived long enough. Granted, this is YA, so
love. I mean, you know, it's like
exactly, it's more dramatic to them.
I love the blank pages myself.
I thought that was cool. I thought it was cool interpretation. I like the way they did that in the movie. To actually represent the book, the way she had the blank pages and they had Bella sitting in the room, and then they show the months and the seasons outside changing. Her father's like outside, like, oh man, what's wrong with Bella? You know, so I thought that was really cool the way they did that. But you know, people just want to go to the negative side. It's a lot easier to sit there and talk about stuff, but at the end of the day,
every book is going to make everybody happy,
and it's not supposed to. That's impossible.
That's why we have so many books.
Thank you. Exactly. So it's okay if you don't like Twilight, but really don't beat down on other people's story. You know, someone wrote that story. You know what I mean? That's why I don't really talk bad about. I would never talk bad about another writer or author. And it's not personal. You shouldn't really be attacking them as a person. That has nothing to do with it. You know. But it's like, If you don't like the book, you don't have to like the book, but there's no need to attack the actual author. That's crazy to me.
Yeah, and there are a lot of booktube channels that get big doing that.
I noticed.
Yeah, I'm not really into it, but
I'm not into that drama. No, thank you. Aphrodite's like, note to self, don't re-censor. Well, you won't be reading any of those ones we recommended, really. Oh, he's like, what kind of attitude is that? As an erotic author, you should be open to stories about the body. He's so funny. She's, I am open to them existing for those who love them. Of course, she's not trying to scare herself. She won't be able to sleep. Yeah, I know. I love Toys R Us. Toys R Us is fun. I worked there. I got to work there for so many years in my my late teens to early 20s. That was fun. He's funny. Titi can't love its host. Yes, yeah. Movie time. Yep. Time for you to go to movies. See you later. Enjoy. Yay, Baltimore Orioles. He's like, go White Sox. Oh, you funny, RC. Get out of here. Yeah, look at all y'all saying y'all teams. Y'all need to calm down, okay? Look at him. Now he's cursing the Cubs. You are funny. You bleed orange. I know it's your favorite color, so. Oh yeah, the shirt I'm wearing. One of Aphrodite's merchandise shirts. The Rainbows Rock. I helped her come up with that slogan.
Oh, yeah.
Fight me. For Dar. So it's like it's a Team Dar. So,
oh wow.
Very Team cool. Dar shirt. So yeah.
Nice
I
job.
thought it was cool. I thought it was cool. I like it. It's fun times. Yeah, Lewis Duncan. Let me write down his name since I need to check out this book. But let's see the level of scary it is, because Aphrodite made it through it, so I don't know.
Read that one. I'm gonna put that one on my list.
It sounds interesting.
I like the title a lot.
Barrett says one of the floors of St. Louis University, where I went to school for a bit, was one of the sites where The Exorcist happened. Ooh, there's also a hospital here and a house. I visited the hospital too. Nice. Yes, that will bring us into the second question for the night, which is, if you could visit one historical horror place, where would that be and why? And us try not to go places that we've visited or some place we want to visit, because some of us have visited scary places.
Yeah.
What do you think, Regina? Where would you like to go that you haven't been?
I've actually been to quite a few.
I know you have. That's why I had to make sure that this question was edited for you.
Okay. I live next to a haunted cemetery, which is awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. I was talking to a friend of mine who a girl I went to high school with, and we hadn't talked in a while. And she lives in Key West, and she invited me down to visit the Key West haunted tours. And there's like a haunted pub crawl, which I'm sure could be really fun. So I thought, I'll do a Key West. I mean, we don't normally think about, well, that's not true. Florida does have kind of a haunted history. I mean, just when you think about, the swamps with the alligators and stuff, but so I think I would like to do a Key West haunted tour.
That'd be cool.
That would be fun. So maybe I'll make that trip. I'll make that plan. But yeah,
cool.
I was trying to think of places that I've been to so many. Like I was even at the Overlook Hotel.
Oh, were you? Oh, cute.
Which is God, I forget the name of the actual place, but it's on Mount Hood in right outside of Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
And it was great. It's very different on the inside, but the outside,
yes.
And just being up there, the high altitude was actually getting to me. And
boy,
there was snow around it, and I took some pictures, but I was like, I'm really creeped out by this.
that
one shot of the Overlook Hotel in the movie looked just like that. But I've been to some haunted places. I've seen a couple ghosts.
Yeah, those places. Like, listen, I'm the mistress of horror, but let's just be honest, I ain't going to those places. Like, I know I'm clairvoyant too, and I've come in contact with some ghosts throughout the houses that I've lived in. My mom rented for a long time, and like some of these houses were old, and just some of the experiences. Like, thank goodness I didn't come across too many violent ones. There was one incident where there seemed to be a violent feeling, so I kind of just didn't like that. So I really, even though the answer that I'm giving it's more of a what if I wasn't
Yeah.
me, because there's no way. But I think I would probably it would be the Eastern State Penitentiary because that one looks very heavy haunted, and just some of the stories alone and the history of that place, it would be very terrible to visit and come in contact with any of the ghosts. You know, the disembodied laughter that they hear in one area, and just what went down in that place. You know, it's going to be bad. You
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah.
just in America alone, we have a lot of places that's haunted. You know, I'm Native American, so I know there's a lot of Native American burial grounds and stuff like that that are haunted because of the deaths and stuff like that.
Sorry,
So,
rude.
oh, listen to you talking.
Stop.
But so it's
yeah,
I think that would be good because I know the ghost there would be no joke. So
well, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen my video talking about Eastern State Penitentiary, but my uncle was a notorious prisoner there.
Yeah, I remember you said that.
Yeah, and he's part of the display. But I was there. I never did the haunted scare thing, which I do want to do. But all right, Lucky, come on. But I did work on a television show there doing wardrobe, and I was there for 2 days. So and we were back in like the really kind of gnarly sections.
Yeah.
I definitely felt some weird vibes. So I walked around a little bit by myself, and we had to wear like hard hats because
braver than me.
And I took some photographs, and I definitely felt like there's the one cell which you can see pictures of. A tree has grown into the wall.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah, it's really creepy. And
that would be. Ooh.
And it kind of just the concept of that place and then my personal connection with it. It's weird.
Right, that is, especially when having a personal connection with it, which I thought was really cool when you talked about that. I was like, wow, really? What? So that's very interesting indeed.
Yeah, and that place, it just driving by. I mean, it's right. I don't know if you've ever been to Philadelphia, but it's like right in like the neighborhood.
Right.
And it's just this Gothic, like neo-Gothic structure, right? Right in front of like where people live. And
I know that's right. Ooh.
It's just weird.
It is weird.
It's usually prisons, you think they're out somewhere.
Right, you would think, but like it's like right smack dab in the middle of people.
I guess maybe that part of the neighborhood was built around it a little bit, but it's definitely creepy.
I mean, just looking at the pictures, I'm like, wow, this looks very corroded, and it's just creepy in general. Like that whole aspect right there is like, no. Like I know something's going down here. Especially me. I believe in ghosts, and I've seen ghosts. So maybe people who just don't feel anything or they don't believe in it. They'd be like, oh, whatever, I can walk through here. I'm like, nope, I don't play with that. Nope, no, thank you.
Yeah,
no, ma'am.
Especially if you're like a sensitive clairvoyant, you would definitely probably
pick up and feel it
comfortable. In some of those places.
Yeah, because I could kind of like, soon as I walk in a place and if it has any kind of foreboding, I'm like, I feel it right away. I'm like, nope, because that runs in my family. And my mom grew up like she see ghosts or like someone passed away. And my grandmother actually came to her at one point to trying to stop a fight that was going to break out between her and her daughter. So my aunt. So my mom was asleep and she's always been clairvoyant. She always saw ghosts, and my grandmother had passed away not long before that, and she was like in her long white dress, and she appeared in my mom's doorway and was waving for her to come on.
Oh wow.
And of course my mom, being scared, she was like, right? She was like, and went under her cover.
The wave is scary.
Yeah, the wave is just like, no. And then my mom like hid, and then she kept a little bit. She came out and peeped out and looked, and she was gone.
Oh, wow.
And literally like 30 minutes after that, she got into an argument with my aunt, and it was like a fight. So it was her trying to stop that and avoid that because she must have knew it was coming. That's what we pretty much decided it must have been the thing. So she had never seen her before that, and she didn't see her after that. So it was kind of like, wow, type of thing. My grandmother was Cherokee American, so
I mean, that could be a start of a whole story.
It really could, because she was just trying to help her avoid the argument and slapping the what out of my aunt. So, so yeah, I wasn't even about to be born at that point. But those type of things is running my family, and my older brother has seen ghosts and stuff in our houses, and thank goodness it was never anything too violent where we had to like move or anything like that. Thank goodness. But it still creeps you out when someone not alive anymore is just like around,
Yeah.
and trying to communicate with you. It could, the feelings can be, and it really depends on the course, the spirit or the ghost, like what they want or what their feelings were at death and things like that. You can pick up on any anger or sadness and stuff like that, and you can cry sometimes depending on the ghost and stuff. So it can really be like bombarding your emotions sometimes. So
Yeah.
really, I really don't want to move in a house that's really, really old, because
No, I live in an old house, but it doesn't feel at all like there are any spirits here. And
that's good though.
but my sister lived in this apartment that the building had been a morgue.
Oh Lord.
Yeah.
You asking for that, then.
Yeah, asking for it. And I spent a horrible night there babysitting my nephew, and like I was
like, no thank you.
I was terrified, like, and there was something, it wasn't just me and my sister. She also experienced stuff within there, and she had to move out. Like, she literally had to move. And there's this one, I'm trying to find this photo because I wanted to do a video about it, but there's a picture of her when she got married, standing outside the building with her son.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful picture, but there's this big white, like, whoosh.
Yep, right there. Yeah, the pictures when you take the pictures and there's things in the picture.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just someone put their thumb over the lens.
You can tell when it's not. Like, I've had some pictures like that over the years when we've lived in some old houses, and you'd be outside the house or in the house and you take it and there'd be like things in the picture and you're like, okay then. You wanted to get in the picture too. I see.
Yeah, I definitely, I know some people don't believe in ghosts. They think it's crazy, but I've experienced it, and I know you have.
I think a lot of the times with people not believing in a ghost or things like that, a lot of time has to do with the uncomfortable thought of it and them accepting the fact that there's something after death, or you don't know what's going to happen to you after death. And then some of the things they may not believe might have to be true for them, and it makes them uncomfortable. It makes uncomfortable conversation. So it's better to believe that it's not a thing in order for you to sleep at night. So I think a lot of times that's what happens with people when they say, oh, I don't believe that, or I don't more want to believe that. But like, something doesn't have to have you believe in it to exist. We're not dealing with those God stories that we have, like the demigods, and they're like, the people didn't believe in me anymore, so I stopped existing. Things don't really need you to believe in it to exist. Like, it's still going to be there whether you believe in it or not. So that doesn't really mean anything. So,
and like, some people are not sensitive to it, and
they can't pick up on it, so they don't know what you're feeling.
I mean,
and that's I mean, it's not like I asked for that. It's just how some people are just made that way.
That's totally true.
Exactly. Barrett said I would like to visit Amityville house.
Oh wow,
that was spooky as you know what, and I love some architecture. Yes, that was one of my ones on my list that I would actually be interested in. Amityville. I always liked the Amityville horrors movies and books. So they was always interesting.
Still there? It's the house is still there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sometimes they cut. They raise the house because people don't. No one will buy it.
Yeah. I don't know if they just turned it to like a historical visit type of thing because of the murders that were there and stuff like that. So I don't. They might have. It might have been.
There was a creepy documentary I watched about the Amityville horror when they did the paranormal investigation.
Yeah.
And the little boys like they caught him. Like,
yes, I know. Right. You're like, like the haunted places where they like catch the person in the window and shit, like looking out, like, what are you doing here? Like, don't worry, I'm not coming back. It's okay.
Yeah,
I'll go.
I live so close to cemeteries and funeral parlors in my block, so they're all over the place.
Yeah, there's a lot of creepy places, and it's just like, get that feeling like, oh, this is creepy. I don't need to come back. Yeah, they did a lot of gators, so they don't need ghosts. Yeah. She's funny.
Florida has some creepiness to it. Oh.
Look at Barrett. You're right, though. You're right. Touche. You're right. Baltimore's already very haunted, so all we have to do here is just wait for the dark. Yeah, facts. I mean, facts.
Yeah, Baltimore has a lot of haunted.
We have a lot of stuff. Even that one about the goat man, like, We got the chupacabra that comes through here. We got a lot of stuff going down. There's one very specific one about the goat man on the road, and there's like a house not too far from there. So there's like a lot of stories about that, and that's like the half goat man thing. Like we got a lot of creepy stuff here.
Wait, where's Mothman? Is that West Virginia?
I think that is West Virginia. Okay. Like they can keep him. No way. Anyone who has the Thin Man, and keep him too. Yeah. And any Yetis, keep all them. We don't need none of that. Man. All those. We should do a ghost story stream. Yeah, for real, right? I'll be down to hear the spooky stories. Yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. I did a little thing with one of the other horror tubers. I think it was there's so many of them. I think Bookie Bus was in it, but Harpies in the Trees, I think, might have put this one together. I was in, and we all told like a little quick clip of something that we have experienced ourselves, a ghost story. So a very short, quick ones. And I told one about when I lived in my one house in Middle River. Yeah, and I told about the woman that was down the hallway, like watching me. And I was like, okay, I'm a teenager. This is really scary to me. Like, why are you here? Stop looking at me. Yeah, so that would be cool, Barrett. Yeah, I might actually put something like that together because quite a few of us in HorrorTube and BookTube have experienced some cool things like that. I say cool things. Some people be scary, but yeah.
Yeah, I think like real. I'm going to put it in quotes because whatever, but real ghost stories that we've experienced, like real hauntings. Yes. I think that would be cool.
Yeah, fun stuff. Conversation going. You need to write a series about it. She said you need to write a series.
Okay. I will.
Don't worry. You gotta tell her. Regina be writing, so you gotta tell her to write more stuff. I worked out places even as a child because of you gotta walk out of places like that. And in my opinion, when it's like when you get that kind of foreboding feeling.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, if you feel like
that really negative energy,
but it almost is like I feel like physically ill.
Yeah, that's happened too. It's just like you can't. People don't get it. You can't be here. Like no. I remember my mom was holding my hand, and we went into a downtown bank here in Baltimore, and I was bombarded by the worst energy I've ever felt. My mom didn't ask any questions, and I dragged her out with me. Yeah, it's good when your mom believes you, man. I'm telling you right now. Thank goodness my mom is clairvoyant, and she knew about that. She used to have outer body experiences when she was a child, and she would tell her mother some things that she could not have known because of the out of body experiences. So she would sleep, and then she would leave her body, and then she would visit her sister who was older, who didn't live too far from there. She'd never been to her sister's place. Wow. And she told her mother like how the curtains were this color, and then this was here, and then this is what Ernestine was at and stuff in the place. And my grandmother was like, how do you know that? Because you weren't ever there. So like that's creeping people out who don't understand that. So she used to have it a lot when she was younger, but she didn't do it as much as she got older. So I was like, that might be a good thing because you can have it's really hard on you.
Oh yeah.
When that stuff happens. Like astral projection and stuff like. She always said, if my daughter says don't go in, I don't go in. Your mom's cool. Smart, man. Cool. Yeah, it's nice when your parents listen to you. I'm like, you're crazy. Or they just not, they're not receptive. So it sounds like a poppycock. Yeah, of course. They just don't feel it. So they don't know what's happening. That collab video of our personal spooky stories that Mara put together was really good. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that a lot.
It was really
fun. We should do another collab like that.
Yep, astral projection. That's right, Aphrodite. So yes, we have come to the awesome segment of Regina reading her story. Did you want me to put it up on the screen for everyone to see?
If you want, I'm prepared. I printed out a copy.
Cool. I am going to put it on the screen. You can read from whatever way you need to.
Okay, so this is I have the whole first chapter of the.
Yeah, I think what you sent me was the first 5 pages.
It wasn't too long, was it?
Yeah, it was the first 5 pages, but we should be good either way. Regina says she will take any feedback for her critique. So whatever you feel you would like to give her a critique on, I already have made my notes because I read it earlier.
Okay.
It is really good and interesting. So I'm going to do a screen share here, and let me see here.
Sorry, my dog is barking.
They're fine. That's what they're supposed to do. They're like, that's their language. So
just when it's my big moment to read my work,
it's like, Mom, I'm gonna give you some background music. So that's
all right,
what I'm gonna do. All right, let me get this screen here. And I'm going to pull up your story. Where is it? It is down
well, look at
here.
you. See, I don't even know how to do any of this that you're doing.
Don't worry. We will get to it. All right, so I'm going to make this big. I hate when it does that. I don't want it to do that. Hold on a second. Let's do this. I'm going to make it full screen, and I'm going to take it from, because this is in my reader mode, because I think it's Though it might not matter because you're not reading from this anyhow.
Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, I wouldn't be able to read that.
Yeah, I mean, I can always make it bigger because I can zoom in, but
that's all right.
I really don't. Wait a minute. Let me do this and then make it big manually because it does like that double screen thing, which I'm like, stop.
So this is still a draft, so I'll probably see things and I'll be like, oh, I need to change that.
That's fine. We're aware it's a draft. And anyone here who has a problem with drafts, then leave. Let me stop. But like, yeah, this is a draft, so we're not worried. Really,
my apology.
When I do critiques or have people for critique group live, we're not worried about grammar and we're not worried about like word misspellings or anything like that because that's not what we're here for. We're here for the story. And those things, you're a writer and a published author, you're aware of editors and things. So it's not like we're going to teach you anything you don't already are aware that needs to be checked over. So I don't even bother going into that jazz. So how is everybody viewing the screen? Is it look okay? Because I can't tell once I have this up here, but I'm going to double check it on YouTube to make sure that it looks okay for everybody in just the one screen. I'm just going to scroll as Ragina is talking and reading. So that way I can somewhat let you keep up. Not that everyone's going to try to read the screen because I can zoom in as such, like so. So Ragina will read hers from hers and we will go ahead and get started.
Okay, so this is from my new novel that is coming out. My new horror novel coming out in June is my plan. And it's called Code Red. This was the novel that won the Waddy Award when I was on Wattpad.
Nice.
I took everything off. I'm no longer on Wattpad. That's a whole other story. It's nothing against Wattpad. It's just that I just moved everything off that site and decided to self-publish it. So that's what I'm doing with this. And it's a vampire story. It's more of like an action adventure. And it takes place in Appalachia, in Southwest Virginia, and it's not. It's like a cast of characters, but it takes place in an asylum and then the code or whatever you call it. The tagline is the vampires are running the asylum, so the vampires kind of take over the asylum. So
that's really cool. I like
that's what it's about. Okay, should I start?
Yes, you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. All right, here goes. I had not looked at this in months, so I might be horrified, but here we go. A lavender mist threaded through Blackwater Hollow, announcing the dawn like smoke from a double-barrel shotgun. Dragon Canoe Road, pitted and thin as a fiddle string, was the only thing cleaving the air between Clawhammer Peak, black with coal and old as time, and the sheer drop to the muddy creek below. Gabe and Melissa Rogers had traveled all night from their Northern Virginia suburb. Neither of them had ever seen this part of the state, and what an old dominion it appeared to be, like another world altogether, a disquieting one considering their mission. While Gabe drove, fighting fatigue with each snaking mountain turn, Melissa kept an anxious watch on the back seat of their silver Mercedes SUV. The sun was still when they entered the mountains, but now as they rounded the turn, the flaming fireball hung in the sky like a risen god. Gabe flipped down the visor, but it was too late. An explosion of light, it should be of, not an explosion of light, prison-shaped shards, penetrated the windshield. It landed on the sleeping teenager like a splash of acid. Kyle jolted awake and began to scream, flailing against the luggage straps his parents had used to tie him down. Kyle! Melissa clamped a hand over her mouth to stifle a scream. The past few months' strain showed in the dark hollows of her eyes and the gray streaks in her hair. Give him another pill, for Christ's sake. Gabe had left his last iota of patience back at the Richlands gas station, where he scarfed down a cup of black coffee he was sure the half-witted mechanic had strained with battery acid. The seatbelt cut into his lap, a painful reminder of how desperately he needed to piss. Melissa undid her seatbelt and leaned over the back seat where Kyle thrashed and growled. A blue pill trembled on her fingertip as she moved it toward her son's mouth. Kyle's tongue shot out like a lizard's, and the pill disappeared between his purplish lips. He dry swallowed it down while she waited anxiously for the heavy sedative to take effect. Even sick and deathly pale, she found her only child beautiful. She gazed warmly at the shaggy brown hair he had dyed black a few months ago when all the horror began. The high cheekbones made even more prominent by his recent weight loss, the long lashes she would kill for. She twisted to face Gabe. Do you think I should give him another one? How the fuck should I know? Gabe navigated around a spill of boulders. He glanced down at the video screen map. 2.3 miles to go. Let's not take any chances. Better give him 2. Here, honey, she said, turning and probing his lips to give him another dose. She expected to feel warm wetness surrounding her finger, the way his toothless baby mouth had once felt on her nipple when she breastfed him. But Kyle's mouth was cold as ice. Instinct told her to pull her hand away, but Kyle's teeth clamped down hard, tearing her flesh to the bone. She wailed at the searing pain. What the hell? Shouted Gabe. The steering wheel whipped through his sweaty palms as his eyes shifted to the rearview mirror. Damn it! He overcorrected the turn and swiped too far right, glancing off the gray mountain wall in a shower of sparks. Gabe! Melissa moaned. Gabe negotiated a blind turn. A coal truck sped toward them, horn blaring. Gabe crossed in front of it, narrowly missing the charging vehicle, and came to a brake-slamming halt an inch from the guardrail. He undid his seatbelt, leaned into the back seat, and with 18 years of frustration pouring through his fist, he bashed the side of his son's head until the boy let go of his mother's finger. Blood poured from Kyle's mouth through a wide grin. The eyes boring into his father's were empty chasms of hate. Melissa opened the passenger door to make her escape. Clasping her injured fingers, she fell to her knees and prayed to God to help her. What echoed back was a jumble of words as garbled as a preacher speaking in tongues. Gabe rested his head on the steering wheel and began to weep. He had hardly slept since Kyle had been discharged from Dawn's Horizon. It was supposed to be the best rehab in the country, but even the best couldn't help their son. Kyle is suffering from a rare dissociative disorder known as Renfield syndrome, in which the patient believes he's a vampire, the rehab physician had told them. I know of only one expert in the field, Dr. Mortimer England. He runs a tiny private hospital called Wormwood Asylum. Kyle's eyes closed, hung slack-jawed from his restraints, buying the Rogers just enough time to make it to the hospital before the horrible screaming started up again. After recovering his wits enough to drive, Gabe rounded the final mountain pass until he saw the sign for Huxley Ridge. Are you sure this is right? Whimpered Melissa, gazing anxiously at the dirt road cutting a nearly vertical line up another high mountain peak. She clutched her hand, swathed in half a roll of paper towels in her lap. That's what the map says, Gabe answered through a yawn. Good thing this baby has four-wheel drive. They drove up and up through dust and gravel for a tense half-mile until at last they reached a newly paved blacktop. Wormwood Drive, murmured Gabe, brightening. Look, like a private road with private money to pay for it. Let's just get there, moaned Melissa. What the hell do you think I'm doing? Gabe stepped on the gas. A rush of lush greenery floated past their windows until they reached the tall, wrought iron gate with sharp spikes pointing skyward. The gate was flanked on either side by lichen-covered brick walls stretching far into the woods in both directions. This must be the place. Gabe opened the driver's side window to reach the bell. Thank you, Jesus, sobbed Melissa, finding strength in a faith she had abandoned long ago. Kyle growled from the back seat at the mention of God's name.
All right, that was the end of what we have. So if you
That's
want to
it.
stop there, okay, cool. Yes. So everybody, that is the story. I'm gonna stop sharing. So I loved it. I thought
Thank
it was
you.
really interesting. Especially the introduction of it, because of course when I'm going in, I didn't know it was about vampire
Right.
or anything even like a vampire. So I'm going in like raw at this point. So I thought that the moment the moment the sun hit Kyle's eyes, I was like, oh, what's happening? Like
Mm.
as soon as his reaction, I was like, okay, something's wrong with him, maybe possessed or something else. And then it hit me that the sun hitting him,
Mhm.
vampire. You know what I mean? The description is great. Like
Thank you.
so, it's very vivid, and you can visualize everything. Like as soon as you described it, you can kind of see the side of the car. You can see the road. You can see the location because of the description, which is always good. You don't give too much. It's just enough to make sure you got the reader in that place.
Mhm.
Um, and the tension is great. So right when the sun hit Cal's eyes, the tension peaked. Like it's peaked immediately. Like, okay, now it's tense here, and I don't know what's going to happen. And intrigue is also very good because you at the certain point you don't know that Kyle's the vampire thing. So you don't know right now, like, is he a vampire? We I mean, as horror writers, we're assuming yes he is, and then humans are gonna be like, he's not a vampire, he just thinks he's a vampire, type of situation. So it's like you're interested in like what's going to happen. And of course the hook that you got people hooked at this point. So there's like I gotta keep reading.
I
So
hope
it
so.
definitely has that. So he's like, I gotta finish this and see what happens to Kyle. And I was like, when she first went to give him the first pill, I was like, lady, listen, don't go there. It's about he gonna bite you. Like I knew it. And then like the second time, I was like, you asking for it, your percentage went down. You and then
Yeah.
she had to put it in his mouth. I was like, you was lucky his tongue came out the first time. You're not so lucky now. Like
Yeah.
so my take is it's very good and it's on point. So I can't really wait to read it. Let's see what everyone else is saying. Let's see. Where to start? Put it on Kindle Vella and allow it to be ongoing.
I've
Sure,
been
Kindle Vella is really
I've been
cool.
thinking about doing that. I actually have a few stories on Kindle Vella.
Yep.
I
Kindle
don't
Vella
know.
is pretty
I
good.
don't know. Horror's a tough sell on those platforms like that.
Yeah, it can be for people because of the continuation thing, but you have to really be hooking them every time they read a part. The Imaginarium is amazing. Yes,
Oh,
yes, it
thank you.
is. The imagery is definitely amazing. I love your prose. Yes,
Thank
she's
you.
got that down.
You know,
He's telling Aphrodite to cover her eyes.
one thing I do try to do, and it's good to hear feedback, is I try to like I always feel like I'm rushing through the story a little. Like everyone has their thing as a writer that they work on. Like, am I rushing
Yes,
too much? I want to give visual details, but I don't want it to get bogged down. It's always finding that balance.
that
I'm sure
balance.
you guys
I
can
think it
relate.
has a good balance personally. So I really like the way because when I'm in reading, I can tell, and it's hard to bore me.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's hard to bore me, and I have come across some stories that are just boring, and I'm trying my best to push through, and I don't like to feel that I have to push through. I
Right.
like to feel that the writer has grabbed me enough to keep my interest and make me want to read on. But when you just like some writers just they have that thing where they're just like, I don't know. The way their writing is, their style is, it's just not for me. Is what I always come to the conclusion is. But I just like, oh, I try to push through, especially if it's somebody I know, and I'm like, let me just push through and finish it anyway. And it just ends up just not being for me. That doesn't mean they're bad or anything like that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it just means that it's not my style of reading, and I'm just not grabbed. And some people will be grabbed and be like, oh, this is amazing. I'm like, I'm bored to tears, especially if it's any horror elements, and so you got that one hook, line, and sinker.
Well, thanks.
So whenever a story is being read makes feel like I'm watching a movie, even a scary one, I love it. Yep, right. Like it was like you could see it, like you were there, and you want to keep your readers in the book. That's what you want them at. You don't want them thinking about their day. They need to
Yeah.
forget their day.
And I don't know if it's like if you guys experience this too, but like the just like the visual, like you like see what you're writing and then try to write what you see. I don't
Right, exactly. It's not always the simplest thing. You're like, you know,
it's
like,
hard to break it down, but I actually do really like hearing about what other writers, experience as
exactly how they.
process. I
Yeah,
probably should
exactly.
do more author tube videos. I enjoy doing them.
I would like to hear some of them. I would
Yeah.
like to see your perspective and how you do things. That'd be cool
or
to know.
open it up to other people.
Yes, it is cinematic. Yes, after that, I couldn't pinpoint the word. Yes, definitely. It's like that's we need a movie, Regina. You need to.
Yeah, I would love. I mean,
a
actually,
movie.
I'm thinking about. I started out as a script writer before I went to fiction.
Right.
So I'm thinking about turning Code Red into a script because it's
That'd be
action.
cool.
It's like an action packed.
It is. So it fit
kind
perfectly. Like I'd watch that. I'd be all for that. I'm ready. I'm ready right now. Like my body is ready.
Yeah, and I'm hopefully also kind of a little funny. It's not a comedy, but I have some comical characters.
Oh, I was laughing. The husband, he's like, "What do you think I'm doing? Why are you saying that? Like I'm not doing that." Yeah, he cracked me up a bit. Barrett says, "Wowza, loved it."
Thank you.
And Bookie was excellent, gripping, and such great details. Very true. So everybody's saying the same thing, so it must be true.
Oh, that's sweet.
See, Nancy's like, I want to know more. Yeah, she's got us hooked, so we all gonna be on her channel. Like, hey, when's Code Red coming out? When's Code Red coming out? And I love the name. The name is very
thanks.
cool.
This is good. I kind of need this feedback because I need to get the energy up to finish it because I'm doing my book a month release.
Yeah, that's something else right there.
Yeah. So this is June.
Yeah. Woo. So yeah, I'm all for that. I'm ready to go. I gotta get your second one to the series that you were talking about. So I have the first one, and I'm in the middle of reading that now. So
thanks.
I want to get the second one. I love the covers too. Very nice covers.
Thank you. That was oh god, now I forget his name. He does a lot.
Cover artist.
Yeah. I'm just totally blanking on, but he does a lot of horror.
I love it when they have the cover artists that do horror work because sometimes it's a little hard to just see like pre-mates, for instance, like when you go into groups that already are there and then you have to like get the customs done. Sometimes when I do find a pre-made of one who does pre-mates and customs and I see them doing horror covers, I'm like, yay, kudos, because people just be forgetting all about us horror people over here.
Yeah
they do. They forget about us.
Yeah, I love that site, the book cover designer. I've spent a lot of money on that site.
Right, though.
I love beautiful covers, but yeah.
I know it can get you after a while. So I'm like, this price is pretty good, but then you keep spending, it's gonna add up.
If I ever make any money, I mean, I'll get like a custom cover because even though this one it was tweaked, but it was an original cover, and then it was
exactly. So yeah, it's nice to do custom covers because of for me. So when I do my books and like when I had thought about that one publishing house that contacted me and I was thinking about like if they gave me good deals in the contract that I would possibly do it with them, but I still was on the fence nonetheless even before anything was decided because of them having the decision on the cover. And my book cover is very important to me because that's my first introduction with the reader for them to know what my story possibly is about, because I take my covers very serious.
Yeah.
So I had a whole idea in my head for the Nana's children's series, and I really don't know if they would got it. So if I would have told them, it would just be me asking, could you kind of try to look into doing something like this? Not that they would have necessarily said no, but it's still like they figured they know how to market whatever they know how to market, and then the cover should be blah blah blah. But it would be playing into the story that I'm telling is the reason why my covers need to be what they are. So I'm very adamant on like being involved in the cover design. Yeah. Sometimes pre-mades, like I said, they call to you and it's fitting. So
I sometimes put the cover up as like on the screen when I'm writing as like inspiration. Like
yes.
That
works very well.
Do a lot of like with the visual kind of inspirations.
Of course, I like visual inspiration. I do that with when I do my character cards. Like I said, I'm a character driven writer. And I like to find actors and or models or people that look similar to my thought of what my character looks like in my head, just because of the visuals. And I have like a folder for each book that I'm working on a story, and I have like the actors or people that exist that look similar to what they would look like. And then I have character sheets that give off their details of their description, like hair color and eyes and body build and things like that, just for inspiration for myself. Even if some of these things people may not ever learn in the book, but it does help.
Well, it also keeps it straight.
It does, true, because if you got things in the book, then you can always reference that.
That's happening.
Right. One thing that I do, like in Cagliostro, I mentioned their scent. So I mentioned Cagliostro's scent, and then I mentioned Allison's scent in the book, like the scent that they pick up from each other. And I mentioned that. So I have to make sure that I make a note and keep that, because I don't want to deter from it later, though people's scents can change. That'd be the only reason why I would change it later. So if I made him say something like a scent that he was picking up and it was like vanilla with whatever or something like that, then that's something I would have to keep in a folder so I can keep a note on it, so for later reference. Also, if something comes up in a book when you're writing a book series, because there's a lot of tricks when you're writing a book series. You got to keep stuff in line,
Right. But the thing about scent, and I now I'm thinking about it, when I go back and edit this, I'll add a scent or two, is that was advice that I got from, not just to me, it was a video I watched, one of these writing advice, and it was really good. It's like, scent is always neglected.
It is a lot of times.
So it's like, one thing that will improve your descriptive writing is, every few pages add a scent. That's, that makes sense in the scene, but I could definitely add a scent of the burning tires, or the fresh air, with the coal smell, hanging in the air, stuff like that. So, when I go back and do another editing, I'll do that.
Yeah. Because smells, we forget it. Like, everybody has the thing that they do. And the smell thing is very useful. I use it a lot when I'm describing an area that it may have a smell. Like if my character's in an alley or something like that, I may mention, especially if it's an alley that people frequent or something, there may be a smell of piss or stale rain that has fallen.
We all know that smell.
We know that smell. We've all walked through like any settings where someone has peed on something, or like just fresh falling rain has a smell,
Yeah.
So just those type of things are useful.
A smell can definitely set the mood more than anything.
It can, because someone can relate to it. They're like, oh yeah, I know that smell. They can imagine it. And also this opens up, like for Cagliostro with the scents, I actually, that's another thing for merchandise, because like I can do a candle in their scent, or have the custom perfumes that they do. There's companies that do that.
I like how you're thinking.
Great merchandise, because you pretty much enter book merchandise.
Right.
So all that stuff, just items in your story too that you may mention in passing could be a merchandise item. Like in Cagliostro, he always wears a opal necklace because it was his mother's. So that's going to be a merchandise piece. So it's kind of like those type of things can be interesting for the people who become fans of a book. If I can get a piece of merchandise that's based inside the book, then I'd be all for that.
That is a great idea.
So it's like the scent thing. Yep. So it's really good, like info for us self-published authors, because when we self-publish, we have more. And even though we have a lot more to do, we also have a lot more fun things that we get to do that other writers who are traditional may not get to do generally, because a lot of other people are involved. So they do give their input, of course, but it's also like we have complete control of what we want to put out to our fan base, So
yeah, it's
really fun.
It's like complete creative control, which is great.
That's why one reason why I did is I did my author interview. That was one of the topics about, self-publishing and why I chose it. I'm like, because I'm just not going to admit I'm a very controlling person. So I like to control my life, and I can like to be in charge of things, and I run businesses. So it wasn't really much of a far-fetched thing for me to be self-published compared to traditional, because I don't really like people making decisions for me, especially when it's something that I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into, and then they're going to tell me that this is how they need to do it and this is what they're going to do with it. And I'm like, it's going to make me uncomfortable. So I want to stay comfortable. So I may have more work to do, but at least all the work, if you're going to work hard, you should might as well work hard for yourself.
Yeah.
So back yourself up, just be your biggest hero. Just put all the money behind you. It's okay to just believe in yourself and put the stuff behind yourself, So that's kind of like I was like,
self-publishing. It just to me seems like a smart choice.
To me, especially in our current world setting, like it's not the past. Like we have all these possibilities that we would be giving up if we didn't do self-publishing. And we don't have the gatekeepers. We don't have people telling us this is a no and this is a yes and this is the current trend. So you really should really think this and do that. And I'm like, well, I'm still going to do this. There's always a market for what you're putting out. I don't need it to be just this specific group of people over here because this seems to be trending right now. I don't care about that. I care about telling the story that I want to tell, and the people, if you build it, they will come. So you need to give it to the people that's interested in reading what you're putting out. I'm not changing my story to fit any specific anything. Yeah. I'm not doing it. I refuse to bend on that. I won't. No.
So yeah, I mean, but that's what's cool about self-publishing. And I think that, there is a sense of being legitimized by being like published, but that's with the big publishing houses, which that just seems like an impossible dream. But even doing like small publishing houses, I remember reading in Chuck Wendig's book about writing it, and he just had one line. He said, "I'm just going to put this out here: beware the small press."
Right.
And if you follow what's been happening, there's like, especially in the horror world, that there controversies that have gone down, which I don't want to get into, but my point is, I think I've seen at least 2, maybe 3 of these small presses completely just fall apart in
the midst all these writers are with them, and then you're like caught in the middle. Like it's happened quite a few times. I saw the 8 little pages fall apart while a few people I knew who was involved with them, and they did covers and they did editing. I think they had editing and they had covers. They did covers predominantly, and even Jenna Marissa used them and recommended for a few people at the time when they were still doing well, and they just blew up for a minute, and then they couldn't handle it, and they had some very inside bad stuff going down with one of the people that worked for them. That put them in a bad position. Not to mention, I think they had some health issues with the husband because it was a husband and wife type business, and they were doing quite well, and then they left some people high and dry.
Yeah.
And with no communication. And that is a big no-no for business. I run businesses. You don't do that. Yeah. We all know that things can happen. There's bad things that can occur that we cannot control. However, you still are required to be in communication with your clients to make sure they understand what is going on, what is going to happen, what is not able to happen, and then being fair about whatever is going down with money and things like that, and merchandise or whatever it is you're exchanging that you need to do. That's just how business works. You have to be prepared for those things, and you have to be ready for the worst. Things could occur, but you can't just leave people high and dry, and that's bad business. So it happened, and I mean, we see it, especially with small companies that are starting to do well, but they just get in too deep for themselves.
Yeah, and I think it's really hard to make money.
It is. It's just hard to make money in general, especially when you make a business. And this is coming from a person who's a business owner. When you make a business, you really need to think about the business you want to make. And is it a need or want?
Right.
Because if it's a need, you are going to probably do better. If it is a want, you have to have your shit together. Because people, once they let them go at the drop of a hat if something goes wrong. And also luxury businesses. And I run one of my businesses, a luxury business, because I have a cleaning business. It is not something people have to pay for. It is not something they need because they themselves can clean. They have hands and they have feet. They can do it. But people want the luxury of then don't have time. And they want somebody who's a professional to do it, because you may just be cleaning very lightly. You may not know how to clean something or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, my business is still a luxury. So anytime people say, oh, I want to go on vacation, or I need to save money, or I had too much taxes coming in, or whatever, they're going to be like, well, the cleaner people are out, like that's the thing. And then you got to be ready for that in business. So making money in business is not easy, but having a business is not for the faint of heart. And being a self-published author, you have to be serious and know that this is a business you are now starting to run. So you have to take it serious, and you have to be willing to give what you make money. You have to put some money back in. And those are the factors of running a business and keeping it going. You can't just spend what you make. You have to put back into your business, pay yourself first, and then be able to pay your bills. So if you can't do that with that, then you have to have multiple avenues bringing money in. That's why I have multiple businesses as well, because sometimes hiccups happen. You don't know.
I work part-time right now, but it's very tough too.
It's very tough to make money in general. And then us writers, we always got some kind of other work that we do when we're first starting out, because we live in reality.
Yeah.
We know the facts. Barrett said, thought the pace was good, so I liked the balance.
Oh,
He did
thanks.
very well with that.
I'm just putting my light down because I realize it's like the lighting's changed and I probably look like deathly ghostly, but
Let me change this lighting. Yeah, the light outside changes than the lighting inside.
yeah, this
That's
is a
to
little
be
better.
adjusted.
Is that
There
better? I don't look
Yep.
quite so much like a ghost.
Yeah, that works. You're a very pretty ghost, so
Oh,
it's
thank
okay.
you. Thank you. Yeah,
Very pretty ghost.
yeah.
Let's see. Aphrodite said, yes, I write movies. Yes,
Oh,
she
really?
does.
Oh, like
Yes, Aphrodite's been in the movie scene for quite some time. She
wow, I didn't know
writes
that.
scripts. She actually is a producer. She's in
Wow.
the Baltimore like whole producing scene. She lived in LA for the longest time.
Wow.
Has been involved with a lot of people. So she makes movies still. So you'll see some of her short stories be converted into movies because they have a production house, so like they each help each other to make their movies and things.
Wow.
So she's been in making movies her whole life, so she's quite the experienced one.
Well, I thought Aphrodite's story in Serve Cold was very cinematic.
It is. She's actually making that one this summer. It's being recorded soon. She's making that. She has the cast, the actors and everything. So she has to make like the costumes and like the globes, the snow globes that have the people in them. So she's working on all that stuff for the special effects and everything.
Wow. I mean, just the character, the woman in the.
Yes. So she's really deep into that, like her whole life. So she's like an expert with that. So I told she had to teach me how to write scripts because
that's amazing.
I want to write some scripts and make some of my stuff into that. So yes, she says I turn all of my novels to scripts. She does. She has to teach me how to do that because I see them as I write.
The novel and then goes into the script. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. Everybody knows I have addiction to covers. Okay, stop talking about me. All the covers except one are custom. Yeah. Sure. I like the custom covers. I like doing that because you get to put it together and see it come to life. When I saw Cagliostro's cover first time, I was like blown away. He did a good job on that one. She said the one that was a cover I bought, then wrote a story for because it was freaking beautiful. I had to have it. Yeah, I know. We all have this problem. Like we'll see something and it's over. Now it's a duology, right? Yeah, we just go on. Merch is one of my favorite things to create. Yeah, I love merch. It's coming up with different ideas for it is like really fun.
Yeah, no, I have to think more. Like I was thinking of things for the anthologies. Like I did the bookmarks, which are freebies. But I was thinking of something. Maybe we could do a T-shirt or something for the next one.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. I mean, people will be all over that.
Yeah, I hope that I get stories from both Aphrodite and you.
Yeah. I'm already working on mine's outlined. So
okay,
I actually will be writing it probably starting the first week of May because I'll be finishing up this other erotica. And then I'll probably have it done within a week or two at the most. And then I can run it to my editor. She's already ready to go to have it sent over to her for editing. Because, so I'm already got it all planned out. So I'll beat it. I'll beat the deadline.
Who's on BookTuber, a BookTuber, AuthorTuber, please submit a story.
Yes, definitely.
In the dark. The theme is monsters. I've already gotten a few stories from new people who weren't in the other one. So that's exciting.
That's good. More people are seeing it. That's awesome. Aphrodite said a fellow tuber had to sue them to get her rights back. That's right. For the 8 little pages. Yeah, that was a mess. Yeah. It was a serious mess. A lot of these companies are like, listen, that's the whole thing with that contract stuff. Like, you gotta have rights over my stuff, and then I can't have it back for a certain amount of time. Want to be an easy no for me. I don't want to even deal with that. But then they shut down and there's no communication and you got to sue them for like your rights back. That's crazy. Like I got to even deal with that. Like you closed down. This is null and void at this point. Like what's going on? Yeah, bloody mess indeed. That's horror all in itself. Yep. And she said it will be on Amazon Prime. Yep. I think you have the thing where you can put the movies up. Your movies on Amazon. Yep.
Oh, great. I would absolutely
I'll watch that in a second. Novel first, yes, she said, and then turn into a script. I'm struggling with a monster idea. Yeah, she'll get it. You'll get it together.
It can be an well, the gore thing is just that I want it to be because it's going to be a Halloween release. I just want it to be a little more like
type of oomph.
Yeah, more like graphic horror
Yeah.
than more psychological.
Logical.
I love writing the psychological stuff too.
Oh, of course, definitely. But let's make sure I see if I don't cover everything. I think we did cover all the things. I didn't miss anything. So we're gonna be doing our closing because I stayed up pretty good with the chat so far. Everybody answered the questions earlier, so we did really good with that. A really fun time. I was really excited to have you on here, Regina, because I knew it would be a fun, good time. We're two horror buffs, so we have a lot to talk about.
Live, I can actually do this. Maybe I'll do a YouTube live now.
Right.
Out in my living room.
That'd be really cool. Because I'll be all over that, definitely.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to give you the full screen, and this is your moment to shine. You can talk about whatever you have going on your channel, anything you have coming out. Do you have any intensive dates that you want to give out? Also, this is your time to plug the next part in this series from Local Haunts into Served Cold and then into the new one. So if you I will put all the links. I have your links below, but I'm going to add the link to your channel to where you did the announcement for the call out. So if people want to submit, because I have your channel down there, but I don't have the link to that video down there, but I'm going to add that so that way people can see it. So I'm going to give you full screen. You go ahead and do your outro and tell us all the things you have going on.
Okay. Well, thank you. Again, I feel really bright with my light, but I'll get it there. So thanks for checking out the live stream. And thanks, Danette, for having me. It's been lovely. So what's coming out? I have been, if you follow my Ragina's Haunted Library channel, I have information about my new books. I'm currently on the third book of a new trilogy, the Moondance trilogy, which is more like a YA romance, paranormal romance. That book, the third one called Red Finale, is coming out at the end of April, which is coming. I'm doing my final edit. It's probably going to be out next week. I wanted to have like it up for this, but it didn't quite get it together. So that's that. And then the next month, since I'm releasing a new book of some or short story novella, whatever, every month, I have a paranormal romance coming, like a gothic romance rather, coming out in May. And then Code Red will be coming out in June. And then that's about as far ahead as I've gotten, but I have other things on the plate. So those are all coming out. So if you follow my Amazon page, you can follow my author page and get updates. And you can also send me an email and get on my mailing list. So it's Regina's Haunted Library at gmail.com, no apostrophe. You can send me an email and I'll put you on my mailing list. And I also have a Patreon where all my patrons get free arcs of my latest release.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that's
nice to know.
That's a bargain.
And I will put the link below for the call out for the next anthology. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the anthology?
So this will be the third anthology. It's all for charity. It goes to firstbook.org. And I've already Served Cold. Local Haunts has already raised over $500 for that charity, and we're continuing it. Lurking in the Dark is the next volume. So that's going to be a June 1st deadline. So it's coming up, and all you need to enter your story, submit your story, is to have an active BookTube or AuthorTube channel, or it also could be a horror related channel. I wanted to also put that out there. Like if you review horror movies and you want to write, you can write a short story, you can submit. You just have to have a channel of some sort. That's really the common denominator that talks about horror topics, writing or reading. And so it's going to be the same kind of deal. We've got Cameron Rubik doing the cover again, and I'm welcoming former contributors and also some new voices out there. I would love to get more people involved. So please check it out.
Yes. And I can't wait for that. I'm really excited also to see the new artwork for the cover. Being a cover addict myself, I'm always excited to see book cover reveals. So I'm really excited for that. Like, I can't wait. to see that. So I'm excited to write this story. I came up with the idea based because you were like, oh, look, we got this going on. I'm like, yay. So then this whole story came out and it's fit right into Cagliostro's world. So it's outlined, it's ready to go. I just have to write it. So I have my system, like, when you got to that point that you're a writer and you figured yourself out finally, and you got yourself together. So, when you outline something and you're like, boom, 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 here we go. This is the story. And I can write this story in a week or two at the. So I'm really excited to get working on that. And
good.
then, so thank you anyway for doing these anthologies, because it gets the fire under me. It gets me writing. I was really excited.
Once a year. That's kind of how it's been going.
I'm always ready. I'm waiting to hear from Ragina so I can get another short story out of me.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to go.
And also Aphrodite's doing her anthology.
Yes, the erotic anthology, which I'm in, and I'm really excited about that too. And that got the fire because I hadn't, even though I had the idea and thoughts to write erotica, and I dabbled and played behind the scenes on it, and I was like, okay, but now that type of thing with the anthology really gets you going, So I'm really excited about that too. I mean, I even in my author an interview that I had recently was talking about that, and just indie authors, do I think it was good recommendation for indie authors to get into anthologies? And I said, yes, I recommend them highly, especially if you're afraid to publish for yourself on the first time, because it can be scary for some writers to publish by themselves for the first time. So I think the anthologies, and you run yours very well. I think if people run them like you do, it'd be less scary for a lot of us new writers to, take that step into publishing that we've been afraid to. Because if you have a story to tell and it's good and it gets accepted, that would be very great to get in the book and be with other writers, Yeah. And they also asked, was there any downside or to being in an anthology? And I really didn't have any say that there was a downside. I said, if you had to try to pick a downside, it would be that maybe in your head you would think that you would get shuffled or you'd be shadowed a little bit. You could be lost in the book, so to speak, when you have a lot of writers. But that comes down to marketing. So if you are in a book, then you sharing the fact that your story is in that book on your social medias and stuff will actually help people know that your story is there, and they will actually probably specifically go look for your story now that they know that it is in there. So I said there's not really any negatives, because the positives outweigh any possible negative you could try to come up with, because everything doesn't need to have a negative. So I was like, I just really don't see a negative in it, because if I can get my story in one more hand, the person who hasn't read it, that's a plus for me. So I don't really see a minus in it of someone reading my story.
I also think, I think just by doing it, it introduced me to so many more people,
right,
like you and others, that kind of, helped to build the community.
Exactly. So I think it's really cool, and how we all come together and then get these stories put in here, and it's cool collections. Everybody always talks really good about these anthologies. So we are very blessed that you decided to, grace us with this idea to make these anthologies, and we can all come together and pay attention to horror for a little bit. It's okay. I like horror.
Our friend Cam Wolf did his, and then he might be doing more too. So.
I missed his, which I was very sad about. He actually messaged me on Twitter, which Twitter was very bad for me checking my messaging at the time.
Oh yeah.
And I missed the message for it. And so, but it was really hard to get Cam on the show too. So he's coming up soon too.
Oh, good.
Here. So
he's in a whole different time zone.
Yeah, so he said the time would be good, but I told him if somebody that's not in my time zone, they're in the UK or whatever, I'm willing to be flexible with the show time, but I would just warn people ahead of time that we're going to be showing at a different time. Yeah. So I am flexible on that. So I'm I have to be at 6:30. That's just the time that it currently is. But if I have someone who's out of the country and can't work with the time, I will definitely be flexible for them. So that's not a big deal. For anybody who's thinking I can't be on the show. I don't care.
This is great that you're doing this.
Yeah, I like it. I want to get as many horror writers in front of people, because, we get pushed to the wayside a lot, and people look at us sideways and stuff because we're in horror, we write horror and blah, blah, blah. But it's something for everybody, and we should be seen. There's a lot of smaller writers out there write horror that people just don't know about. And I think it's kind of funny. So since I started this show in January, that every single one of my guests have been females so far.
Interesting.
Which is, I was like surprised and happy at the same time, because do you think there's not as many female horror writers like that's on YouTube or whatever? So at least that's going to submit something. So I'm on top of people. I'm like, listen, try and get Merce, and they're like, come on, give me something. Everybody who writes, like, if you got something, like, I want you over here. And I know it's a little scary to have your stuff critiqued, but this is not that type of critique show.
No,
no one's tearing you down. I'm here to build you up. Because if you want whatever you want your critiques to be, that's what you tell me. That's what I'm going to tell the audience, and that's what we're going to give you based on what you're looking for. Because we all know our faults. It's just hard for us to admit them sometimes. Yeah. So it's a comfortable space to get your stuff read and listen. And if people have similar things to say, likelihood is probably going to be more true for the book. So it's okay to get good feedback. If you get some bad feedback, that's also fine if that's what you asked for. But it's like, it's best to know before your stuff goes out. So that's what's useful about critique. And it's you setting up the critique so you can feel as comfortable and you can get the info you're looking for. Like, is this story creepy enough? Or am I missing the details? Am I not descriptive enough? If you have those type of questions, this is the place to come, because listen, we're gonna be honest, and people get to come and hear awesome creepy stories that haven't come out yet, and it's gonna help the writer get more people interested in what they got coming. So I think we're doing good and we're getting stuff in front of people. So that's what we're here for. So, all right, let me check the last one of the chat before we roll out. Great to see you too, Bookie Buds.
Thanks so much, guys, for stopping by.
You, Aphrodite. It's fun. I wrote one spicy tale, and now I know as an erotic writer. Like, yeah, well, I know you write one erotica, and if it's good, people are like, now you're known as an erotic writer. That's what they heard. They heard the erotic. That's it. So I decided to run with it. That's right. In fact, it was Ragina who inspired me to do the anthology because of my experience. It was so amazing. Yes, exactly.
Well, that's great. I'm hoping this will spread as a trend. I was surprised that not more people did it. It's a great idea.
Right. I think they might be a little intimidated by the whole prospect of putting it together.
Well, it's not easy. It's not easy.
I'm not going to sneeze at it because I know it's a lot to do anything like that when you're involving so many different people and the backside of that. That's why we're so happy and blessed that you decided to do it. So thank you so much again for that. And Aphrodite, like, you really inspired her, Regina, because she had never even written a horror scary story.
No idea.
That was like her first one of her putting one out. So like she did very well with it. So
very well. I love that story.
I told her, I was like, listen, for the Mistress of Horror, I'm telling you, it's good. Okay. Like, good job execution on that. So you're inspiring people all over the place.
Oh, good.
Yes, Cam Wolf will be coming on the show. CGL is about empowering and inspiring. Yes, that's what we are about. And the truth. That's right. Awesome. Thanks for being here, Barrett. Thank you, Nancy, for being here. Thanks so much. And I'm author DL Tillery, the Mistress of Horror, and you can find all the horror things over here, obviously, because that's what we talked about all night long here. So, the next CGL will be at the end of May, which is the last Sunday of May. And I will be doing an announcement soon of who my guest is, because I like to do that over on Instagram. I do an announcement of the thumbnail of the next show. And if you are a horror writer or a person who's an inspiring horror writer and you have a horror tube channel, author tube channel, or just a booktube channel and you write, or if you don't have a channel and you're thinking about getting involved, and you want to write and you want someone to critique your stuff because you want someone to hear it, then this is the place to come. And you have a spotlight on you because we have one guest at a time. You get to talk about some horror stuff because we all like to nerd up in here about horror stuff. It's always some new topics to talk about. I'll keep it fresh and fun because there's always a lot to talk about in the horror world. So please do submit. The link is in the description below for your first form to fill out to submit. And let's see where it goes from there. I hope to have you on the show.
I have to say, this was great. And you were very organized with all your paperwork. I was very impressed.
I try to be organized when I do things so that way everybody can be as comfortable, let everybody know what's going to happen before it happens as much as possible. There's always could be hiccups, but we try to have fun even with the hiccups.
It's been great.
So it's not too bad. But yes, I would like to say good night to everyone and thank you for joining us.
Thank
and I
you
will see you
so
next
much.
month. Make sure if you're not subscribed to Ragina St. Clair, I don't know who you are and where you've been on YouTube if you're not subscribed to Ragina St. Clair and you like horror. So I'm going to give you the lead way. There's a link below and you need to go subscribe. Make sure you give us a like here so people can find this video. And I'll see you in the next one. Stay scared.
Thank you.
Bye.